G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. Going to be going over my tips for round 4 of the 2025 AFL season. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you do going to enjoy today's video. And let's get straight into it. Okay, so my tips from the previous round being round 3. It started off awful, but we got there in the end and recovered with a 5 out of 8. I say it started awful because we got the first 3 tips incorrect. Went with Port Adelaide, just thought better side on paper, but yeah, the Dons a real gutsy performance. Their contested stuff really stood tall late. Was feeling the Dogs in this one, but I just had faith in the Blues, and they were in a winnable position. But again, their second halves continued to be an issue. Really spirited performance by the Dogs once again. They've had a really impressive start to the season given their circumstances. Backed in Melbourne, and geez, this one did not age well. I thought, at home, probably give them the edge here, but the Suns, they're looking like they've come to play for this season, and could they be finals chances? Still early days, and then got the remainder of the round correct with the Saints. Hawthorn over the Giants, the Lions over the Cats, really good comeback from them. The Crows over North Melbourne, North gave them a good fight, and then Fremantle were able to get the job done over the Eagles in the Western Derby. A quick look now at my tipping competition leaderboard update. In round 2, not one single person got themselves a fully correct round, but for round 3, a lot of people did. Roughly around 15 people got themselves a fully correct round, so well done if you're one of those individuals. And as for who is leading my competition, it is still 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐸 with a total score of 41. So let's begin with our tips for round 4, and we begin with the classic Carlton Collingwood rivalry, Thursday night footy at the MCG, and there's just not really much momentum with the Blues here heading into this one. 0-3 start, obviously not ideal, a lot of pressure on the coach now with Michael 𝐕𝐻𝐸. Their second halves have been a massive disappointment, just many questions on them at the moment. Are their leaders really standing up? Are they even fit enough with being unable to run out these games? Still adopting a very contested, focused style of footy, but they're just not getting it done well enough on the outside. But to be fair, there were some good signs against the Dogs. I thought their movement from the back 50, you could see they were really wanting to get the forward hand pass game going. The first win for the Blues eventually has to come soon, you'd think, and as the weeks tick by, if they're still unable to pick one up, they're just going to be a lot more fire in the bellies, you'd think. And what a way it would be to get a win over their bitter foes of the Pies, coming off the bye with a record of 2-1. Both those wins coming at the MCG, so with another game here at the home of football, they've got a great record at home, especially under the bright lights, and they always seem to have the edge over the Blues, I feel, especially in close games. They've looked good when being able to move the footy freely end to end, so the Blues really got to bring that front half pressure, not allow them to move the footy with ease. And it's an absolute necessity for the Blues to just try and really smash them around the football. Can they get a lot of scores off stoppage, try and dominate in that area? As always, I feel like these games will be close. They're just always classics, this rivalry especially. If it's going to be a close game though, just don't have the confidence of the Blues with how they're running games out. So I'm going to lean towards the Pies with this tip here. So I feel another close game here between Carlton and Collingwood, but the Pies edge out the Blues here and win one by 6 points. Then for Friday night football, we have the Cats taking on the D's at 𝐺𝐸𝐴 Stadium, and this one massively in the Cats' favour. They've started off the season 1-2, but they've got a percentage of 126, so that is a very high number. They've lost games by fairly close margins. The game was basically lost in the first half in a disappointing outing against the Saints, and they were leading as much as around 4 or 5 plus goals against the Lions and threw away that lead. Back home now at the 𝐸𝐻𝐼𝐸, where they usually play their best football, facing a Melbourne side that had just been slated in the press this week. What an absolutely embarrassing performance it was against the Suns. Credit to them, of course, but as I said in my season predictions video, I just feel like Melbourne's contested and turnover and defence, what they're known for, is just slipping away. I don't feel like that's a strength anymore in the competition, and it was evident. They were belted and centre bounce clearances, and it's just a nightmare with how their midfield did go against the Suns. They look slow in defence too. They're very easy to move the ball against, but a week's a long time in footy, especially what we've learnt with the tips so far this year. So could they do the job here, head down the 𝐸𝐻𝐼𝐸 and win? I think they're going to put up a way better fight and really give the Cats a run for their money. Surely they put Petrarca more in the midfield. He's been spending a lot of time forward. Young Harvey Langford, Rising Star nomination. Thought he looked really shrewd in the middle, had 26 touches. But they just need to be tougher, especially around the football. They're not getting enough supply when they're going inside 50 anyway. The same old issues, just the connection isn't looking so great. So with what we've seen of the D's and the form they're in, I just don't have the confidence to back them in here. I think the Cats have a lot more upside. They didn't really get much out of their key players like Ollie Henry and Jeremy Cameron up forward against the Lions last week. So I think, they're due for a big game. Intrigued to see how Melbourne bounce back with this one though, but I just don't have the confidence. I think the Cats should win this one well, and we'll go Geelong in this one by 23 points. For the Saturday games now, and here we have one of the most intriguing games we've had in quite some time. It's the Suns versus the Crows at People's First Stadium. Two sides that have had excellent starts to the season, but also two sides that are heavily unproven. Gold Coast and Adelaide are top 4 in the competition with scores off turnovers. I think the Suns are up there for handball receives, so you can see the Damien Hardwick style they're really starting to adopt more and more. Really get the ball moving quickly. Their midfield has absolutely belted their opposition so far. �絵𝐿𝐼 Miller spending more time forward, so it's allowed the youngsters like Humphrey to run through there a bit more, but Anderson and Rowell have had the ball in an absolute string. When they do chain the ball end to end and have some inside 50s, we still see a few connection problems here or there, but they've put up some big scores. And so have the Crows. They just look electric with their ball movement. They're the best team in the competition with scores off turnover. They've gotten plenty of firepower from their trio of tall forwards, but also the smalls feel like they're definitely playing their part. I think Ben Keys has had an outstanding start to the season with his work rate. Young backlines impressed too. Michael Arney, especially Josh Wall, really imposing himself as an up-and-coming strong intercepting defender. Just plenty of positives from both sides, so it's just a question who wins this game here. You give Gold Coast the edge, I feel, given it's at home, and they have usually a very good record, and they didn't really lose much at People's First Stadium last year. Midfield battle's definitely going to be intriguing. I think that the Suns can really brain the Crows around the footy and the stoppage. That would probably give them the chance here and the advantage to win this game. But I've just really liked how the Crows have looked, and I'm going to be going with my tip here. I still think there are some questions on Gold Coast with their conversion inside 50, and look, Adelaide's backline is a bit of a weakness, but I just think that ball movement the Crows can really bring can punish opposition, and I feel like they can do that to the Suns. Hopefully a high-scoring affair. We'll go the Crows in this one, and they'll pick up a close win, I feel, and win this one by 11 points. And at 4:15 PM, we've got the Tigers taking on the Lions at the MCG. So Richmond's second game of the G this season. Obviously, the last one being their win over the Blues. So it seems this is the best venue where they play their football. But we all know in the past with Brisbane, they've been choke artists at the G or whatever. They can't win there. They've won a flag recently there. So I feel like all those demons have definitely escaped them. And they're just looking like a really resilient side. They've started off poorly, which is a bit unlike them, given last year they were one of the fastest starting teams. Looking like a well-drilled side, and they're just able to get the game on their terms so well with a very strong midfield and also capable of controlling the football through their uncontested style. It's going to be an up and down year for the Tigers. Their first half was definitely a positive against the Saints last week. It was more like a Richmond style, just really pressure the opposition, whilst the Saints' pressure was very poor to start off that game. So quite simply, just got to bring the heat, got to bring that team first mentality, and they might be for a quarter or two, maybe hitting the lead or in charge. But I just feel over a 4-quarter perspective, the Lions should have the Tigers covered here, especially at the big round of the MCG. This is a great chance for them to really, control the footy, get a lot of those marks, which I like to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Tigers can start this game well, but the Lions, for me, hard to go against them against Richmond. So we're back in Brisbane here, and they'll win this one by 30 points. Then for Saturday night footy, we have the Kangas taking on the Swans at Marvel Stadium. Instantly, I feel like this one could be one of the games of the round. This is just what I'm feeling in my guts. North with a lot of ex-Swans players heading into this one. Of course, headlined with Luke Parker, but also 𝐵𝐿𝐼 𝐴𝐷𝐼. I felt he's taken his opportunities well. He's kicked a few goals. He's applied pressure really well. And, of course, Toby Pink, who was on the list quite a while ago. Back on the lead at Marvel, usually where North play their best football, and can their midfield get back on top? As for Sydney, coming off the bye, generally not too great off a mid-season bye, but these are one of the early buys to be fair, and are deserved favourites with a better side on paper. Swans' ball skills to start of the year has also been a bit of a letdown too. They just aren't looking as fluent with their ball movement, lacking a bit of that cutting edge, and that's unlike Sydney, usually are able to move the pill fairly well. Their clearance game was impressive against Fremantle, who were one of the top sides in that last year. I think James Jordan's done an exceptional job now being as a main midfielder target, unlike a half forward which he was last year, so expect him to go to LDU. He's elite with his leg drive out of stoppage, can't allow for the Swans to concede that. Marvel, not usually their happy hunting ground. They don't seem to play their best brand of football at this stadium, I find. So to be fair, I'm giving North every single chance here. I generally think they can win this game. The Swans are known to be a pretty weak contested side. If the Kangas can just, from the centre bounce, really dominate, get on top of that contested game, I feel like they are a genuine chance here. But I'm just feeling the Swannies in this one. I think they're a bit more of that better, well-drilled side, and if you do give them the ball back in dangerous spots, for the most part, they can still be a damaging side off the turnover. So I think the Swannies will peep them here in a close game. I'll go the Swannies here by 2 goals. And then for the Sunday games, first one up, 1:10 PM at 𝐴𝐺𝐼 Stadium. We've got the Giants taking on the Eagles. Well, the question with West Coast is, when will the first win of the season come? Will it happen here against GWS, Well, no one was expecting their start against the Lions. Just a real good, I guess, response to how they were in round one against the Suns. They were belted around the footy, but they belted the Lions around the football. But it was another game where they lowered their colours in the Western Derby. Started all right, but again, midfield just felt non-existent. They were brained by the Dockers in that area. Looking like a side as well that's just way too easy to move the football against. And if you give the Giants time and space, they can really cut you up. And their front half pressure, some of the best in the competition too. J.𝐸 𝐿𝐿𝐼, huge loss for them. He's going to be out for a number of weeks. So Harry Edwards was subbed out. That's a bit of a concern. So will they throw in someone like a 𝐼𝐻𝐵𝗏𝗯 or someone in defence? I know Marrick's playing there. Giants are 99% tipped in this one, so I don't really have to spend much time on this. So obviously very good side at home as well. Heads did really drop though, I felt, in the second half against the Hawks though, but to be fair, pretty tricky conditions, but they just ran off their feet through the Hawks ball movement. So yeah, can't allow the Eagles to do that. I think a bounce back here is on the cards for the Giants, and I reckon they'll knock off the Eagles here and win well with their fluid ball movement. So the Giants to win this one by 40 points. Then at 3:20 PM, we've got Port Adelaide taking on the Saints at the Adelaide Oval. And this is a really good opportunity for the Saints, a good time to try and knock off Port Adelaide because they just aren't so great against them head-to-head wise, and I don't think they've won a game before at the Adelaide Oval, or they rarely do win there. It's one or the other. It was a very demoralising loss for the pair against the Dons last week. They were able to get some nice goals through some of their ball movement, but overall, it was just yuck on how they're moving it. A lot of dropped uncontested marks, and their leaders were nowhere to be seen as the game grew late. They were really missing that Zach Butters type because they were just belted around the football by the Dons in that last term. And with what the Saints have been able to produce so far this year, I think they've been really promising with their contested stuff and also their pressure. If they bring that for 4 full quarters, I think they're definitely a chance here. Very well drilled side as well, and they can cut the angles really nicely with how they move the footy from the back half. And we all know Port, they do have issues defending quick ball movement. Zach Butters is a test to play for this weekend and should be playing. Apparently he trained all well the other day ago. That's just a massive addition, I feel. You know, he really changed the game through his ball movement and his electric speed out of congestion. And that should really help out their teammates, especially Horne-Francis and Rozee. Without Port Adelaide to start off their season, the Saints definitely a chance here if they really bring the heat and bring some fluid ball movement. But I just see this story all the time, you know. Port Adelaide against the grain, they've had a poor loss, and then back home the Adelaide Oval, they usually get the job done. This is where they play their best football. I like the Saints here for a smoky tip, but I just think Port Adelaide for the bounce back. Seen this story many times, and Butters should be a massive inclusion too. I think they can really get their ball movement strong again in this game, link up play a lot better, and out-pressure the Saints here. So Port Adelaide to win this one by 18 points. And this leaves the final game of the round, 5:10 PM at Optus Stadium. The Dockers taking on the Dogs. Really intriguing matchup this. Fremantle, they have gotten their first win finally over the Eagles in the Western Derby, and that will definitely boost confidence heading into this game against the Dogs, where the Dogs, I think, pretty usually good side in Perth, and I feel like they've got a good record over Fremantle, not only at home but also at Optus. Still without Bontempelli and Treloar and a few of their key players, but they're just playing some resilient football. If you look at that win against the Blues, for example, I thought they smacked them around the footy with their contested possessions and just won key contests as the game grew on. The Dockers' clearance numbers haven't been as good as last year. They were beaten by the Swans and the 𝐼𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐼 in those areas in the first 2 rounds, and those sides aren't notoriously the best clearance teams in the competition. So, hey, this is an area for the Dogs to try and expose. I've felt with watching both sides so far this year, they have been fairly easy to move the footy against from the back half, so who can really bring that good ball movement, who can link up better? I think that's going to be the key area of this game. The Dogs are just continuing to impress, and it really wouldn't surprise me if they would head over west and have another spirited performance, but I just think Fremantle, they are going to be getting, I'm pretty sure, a few wins. Hayden Young might be a slim chance. Tricky one, really see this one going either way, but I lean towards the safer tip here of the Dockers at home. That win last week should give them a lot of confidence, especially with how they link up inside 50. And geez, the likes of Murphy Reid, how good was he with his connection forward of centre? So I reckon Fremantle win this game over the Doggies. Closely contested one, but the Dockers run away with it and win this one by 14. So everyone, they were my tips for round 4 of the 2025 AFL season. Let me know your tips down below. Are you going to be going for a few roughies? From what we've seen so far this year, it's looking like you have to if you want to be getting every single tip correct for the rounds. So let me know down below. Always love to hear your people's opinions. That's it from me, everybody. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy today's video. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.